Welcome, future friends and current enemies, to Brownlow Books. I was not planning on telling you about this book in October. I was gonna keep it for November. It was a book club pick, not my pick. And it's not even somewhat spooky as this series would suggest, but I keep seeing it on lists of autumnal reads on Instagram and such. So I'm like, I guess I'll tell you about it now because I didn't finish my next book yet. So, I read If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a dark academia book. It is set in the fall predominantly. Predominantly. So I was like, okay, I guess, let's do this. So, as I said, I did not find it somewhat spooky at all. It is that kind of like, oh yes, it's fall, but as they say, like, it is the warmest fall they've ever had. Like, it's never been this warm when they've been at school in this fall weather, and yeah, so it didn't feel very fall. Like, they're in Illinois? I believe it was Illinois. I read this a while ago too, and I am fucking winging it. Illinois. And they're like, we're swimming in the lake. And I'm like, in late October? Like, October to November, you're in the lake. You're swimming in the lake. You're willfully going into a lake and not coming out hypothermic. Okay. Would not fucking happen around here, alright? So I was like, okay, fine. So I didn't get the autumnal cool nights, warm days kind of thing. I didn't get that. And it's a school for, arts. It's a college of the arts, basically, right? And so we're following the actors. And my god, as I know from real fucking life, actors are fucking insufferable. And they continue to be fucking insufferable when they're in this book. I don't know if you're actually supposed to like anyone in this book. I sure as fuck didn't. I couldn't like the teachers. I couldn't like the students. I was like almost jealous of the dead guy because he didn't have to be there anymore. Which dead guy? Yeah, for something that was sort of like a murder mystery pitched to me, it was one dead guy and it's broken into 5 acts. He dies in act 2. Like, I don't know. It felt weird. It's like I'm supposed to care about this guy that he's dead and like, oh, how sad, terrible. But I didn't know him at all, and he's just, like, described as a wild tyrant, basically. Like, he's taking on the roles that he plays in the school, acting like he's all high and mighty and the boss of everyone, and he's the king, and he does what everyone has to do what he wants, and, like, it was weird. You want me to care about this guy that I just obviously don't care about because you're not telling me anything about him before he started acting like all these roles he's taking on. It just didn't make any sense to me in that way. And yeah, I didn't like anyone. But it's like, yeah, Oliver went to prison for 10 years for a murder he may or may not have committed. And like, I wasn't even done really the first, 2 chapters, and I was like, well, you're gonna kill this guy. This guy's taking the blame because he's in love with this guy, but also that girl. I just spoiled the entire book. You're welcome. But I was just like, this is what's gonna happen. I text my husband with a fucking timestamp and everything, and I was like, I'm on this page, and I'm like, this is what is gonna happen. This is how this book ends. And yeah, it was for book club, and I was like, yeah, guys, 100, I fucking got it. I got, there was no tension in this book for me. There was nothing pulling me forward, ooh, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do this. And then there was, all these, weird asides where, Oliver had to go home to Ohio, and when we were, with his family, and, I get it, Oliver's, recounting his youth to, in the current time to a police officer, but, I didn't get it. I didn't like it. It was like this author who admits to having a degree in Shakespeare studies wanted to write a book to prove that she has a degree in Shakespeare studies. Which, what do you do in life with a Shakespeare studies other than write a book? So, that. Yeah, so, wasn't a huge fan. Was barely a fan. I didn't hate reading it. Like, it didn't get to the point where, like, I am finishing this for the fucking sake of finishing it. It was like, I'm reading a book, but, like, there's no tension for me. There's no draw. It's just, like, you're telling me about your youth, and this is what it sounds like, and that's fine. And it's like, okay, it is what it is. And you go to a school in the middle of fucking Illinois, and your entire specialty is Shakespeare. I think it suffered for the setting. I think the setting made this not as great as it could be, to be entirely honest. Setting it in, like, the fucking Midwest is just not the right atmosphere. I wanted, like, like, winter at the Cape kind of thing, like a New England sort of, like, moodiness to it, or, like, an English countryside. Like, they say that they, like, live in the castle, which is this, like, house at the back of this, like, big school that they're at, and, like, the school is, like, this super old building, and, like, it's all, like, just very, very old, almost, like, Victorian kind of everything, and, like, okay, great, but, like, in Illinois, or Indiana, or whatever the fuck it was, and I was like, yeah, England, that would have worked amazingly. Like, if you would put this in, like, the English countryside, fog rolling over the moors, like, everyone is actually into Shakespeare, like, it's like a thing for your country, like, definitely would have gotten it. Like I said, even, like, a New England, Cape Cod, whatever kind of thing would have been better than the fucking American Midwest. Because, like, you've got Oliver from Ohio, and the whole thing is that, like, he never felt like he fit in with his fellow actors and whatever. And it's like, you've taken him from Ohio and put him in Illinois. It's fucking baffling to me that it was set in fucking Illinois. That's all. And, like, the author's all like, well, the way these kids, like, quote Shakespeare to each other, it's like they've developed their own language, and it's just, like, such an interesting thing to watch. And I'm like, no, these kids were pretentious as fuck. Like, some of them came from, like, acting families, or they're just, like, they all have their roles that they play. It sounds more and more ridiculous the more I think and talk about it, about how much I did not enjoy this book and its pretentiousness itself. Look, I can quote Shakespeare. Great. So can I. It's not special. Yeah, it's just the whole book just kind of didn't sit right with me. And again, yeah, it probably for me goes back to where it's taking place and how, like, yeah, you can have a moody old building, but the moody old building is in Illinois. Feels ridiculous. Yeah. Apparently, so my friend picked this, and she was like, I saw this reel, they said it's, like, the best book they've ever read, like, they're obsessed with it, blah, 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 whatever kind of thing, and I was like, okay, fine, great, people have that. Yeah, so it was, like, this moody, dark academia thing, and people are loving it. It was apparently quite the TikTok sensation when it, like, came out, I guess, in, like, I think it was, like, 2017. I wasn't really part of that at that point. I wasn't even really watching it much. But yeah, people apparently were going wild for it. So it does have over 300,000 ratings on Goodreads. And it comes out to, I believe it was a 4.14 stars, which is great. But I'm like, what book did you read? You and I didn't read the same book. Like, there's no fucking way we read the same book. And that was kind of, like, the whole attitude of our book club as well. Everyone's like, well, it was a fine story. It wasn't, like, it didn't feel like what we were promised from even the blurb on the back. So, yeah, there was an agreement of, like, this, it suffered for the setting, and that no one in it was, very likable, which may or may not be the point. But, yeah, it was very much like, I wrote a book to prove that I know Shakespeare. And so it's just like, yeah, the kids are very pretentious and I just kind of hate them. And I just, like, I'm trying to think, like, what did I like about the book? Yeah. Nothing. Nothing really. But I didn't hate it, so there's that. But yeah, in a 4.14 star, I'm just kind of like looking for those 2-star reviews, and I was in agreement with several of them that I read that was just like, yeah, I'm sure this was going for something, but like it didn't hit what it was going for. It could have been executed a lot better. Like, the story itself is not horrible. It's the execution of said story. And like throwing Oliver's family in there every once in a while is weird, and just like no school operating the way that this school operates, you know? And like, yes, there's a suspension of disbelief that you have to have while reading, but like, it's fucking Shakespeare in Illinois, y'all. That's kind of my line, I think. So yeah, lots of people like it. I don't. Shocker, right? Yeah, so that's that for this. It was not somewhat spooky to me at all. It was claimed as like dark academia, but the darkness, I guess, just comes from the fact that they murdered their friend. Yeah. So that's your Batgirl. Signing off, being done with this book, and moving on to the next, which we will see in the future. All right, thanks for hanging out. See you around next time. Like and subscribe if you'd like. Thank you.